I think that, Manchester, as a result of, and when I refer to Manchester, I mean the city region of
Yes, that's
Manchester.
what I meant.
It's massive, really. It takes in a whole, massively broad demographic of a place, really. And so what you can expect more of, I think, is, it's a business-friendly socialism. So that means that what the politicians are looking for there is, are you a business that wants to do more than just help yourself? Are you there to help yourself? For sure, you're a business, you need to do that. But are you prepared to help people along the way? Or are you prepared to help other businesses, to help the public, to help non-profits, to help the faith, voluntary, charity sectors? Are you there to, and can you do other things? So can you do something that might reduce energy bills and make life more affordable? Or can you, restore conservation buildings? That's great, we need to do that. Can you create jobs? That's great, we need to do that. Can you create housing that's affordable? We need that. And can you, so it's all things that you can do as in the industry, and it's showing without just tokenistic, in a non-tokenistic way, showing that you genuinely are trying to help in other areas beyond just lining your own pocket as a business. And the good thing about that is that if you do that well in any town or city or place, then you create a healthy community, a healthy economy, and guess what? That business, your business, can thrive even better.
That's Tim Heatley, co-founder of Capital&Centric, an investor, developer and operator spending £3 to £4 million a week on regeneration across the UK. I'm Ayo Abbas from Abbas Marketing, and this is the Built Environment Marketing Show. We get into how he gets schemes off the ground and builds real community around them, what he actually looks for in an architect and engineer, including taking NAF schemes off your website. And with everything going on politically in the UK right now, we also look at what the rest of the UK can learn from Manchester City region. Hi Tim, thank you so much for agreeing to come to the Built Environment Marketing Show. Can you introduce yourself and what you do at Capital&Centric?
Sure, yeah, I'm Tim Heatley and I'm the co-founder of Capital&Centric, which is a social impact developer, and we spend between £3 and £4 million a week on regeneration.
A week? That's a lot.
Yeah. I don't think about it. That's worrying.
Do you know what? I worked with the team at New Street, and I remember towards the end of the completion of New Street, they were like, if we're not spending X million a day, we know we're behind on programme. And I was like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Yeah. Scary, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it really did. It kind of made brought it to life. I was like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of people.
That's why I say it. I put it in the weekly terms for context. So when I'm talking to my mates at the pub, they get it now. So they stop asking me, is it still a good idea to buy a kitchen from Magnet, Tim, or a bathroom from B&Q? And I said, I've moved on a bit from that. If the business has grown, I don't know anymore. I went, by telling them, look, I'm spending £3 or £4 million a week here on big regenerative projects. They kind of go, they go, all right. And then they're not interested. They say, it's your round. And we move on the conversation.
But that's important though, isn't it? It's the scale, because I think people lose, I'm really bad at reading building plans. I can't understand the scale, right? And I think that whole scale thing of actually finding it in a way that people can understand, what you're talking about, and then the level of it, because people just don't realise, I don't think.
No, I think, and I'm sure we'll come on to talk about it, but being able to communicate with people about what's going to happen to their town or city, what's going to happen to their immediate neighbourhood, and then putting that in words that means that they can grasp it and understand it, and then and feed back on it is really important. I think we've got good at that over time through, by not using property jargon, and by not talking about, I say it all the time, we've started on site. Now you say that to somebody in the pub, they go, what does that mean? I've started on site. We have commenced construction. So it's a very subtle difference thing, but words matter and communication matters.
So is the pub your kind of market research in a way?
Yeah, it's the pub test, isn't it? If does the person in the pub who's not that interested necessarily in property or regeneration, can you get them interested in your topic and get them excited about what might be happening to them and their town, and can you get them to express an opinion? Because at the end of the day, they're the people who are going to use these places and spaces, and it's only by extracting from them what they want to see or happen to their place do we create a successful one. And what makes a successful place is the people that occupy it, and that is what makes our business successful. So always looking to try and understand what the public are thinking and saying.
Yeah, I saw your talk at the AJ Retrofit conference last year, and I think one of the things you started talking through was around, when you buy a site, what's the process you go through in terms of introducing yourself to your local kind of community?
Yeah, one of the first things we do is we host a Meet the Neighbours event, and that's usually during the day. It's tea and cake and coffee and a chat. But then into the afternoon and evening, it becomes pizza and beers and a bit of live music. And we don't show them any plans. We show them what we've done in the past elsewhere. Lots of photography, lots of imagery, lots of videography, and just telling them about broadly speaking the kinds of things we've done elsewhere. What went well, what went wrong. You've got to be honest and tell them where, because they'll go and find it. They'll go and find out where we've made a mistake and things didn't go quite to plan, or we had to change something. And then that's building trust, and that's building in a way that you need to with any neighbour, really. And so then when we do finally come back to them with the first version of the vision for their place, we remind them it's formed by them. And the best thing about that as well is that if there's a moaning, Dave or a complaining Sharon about something, then we can say, well, I know you don't like it, Dave, but the problem is 700 people told us that they wanted this. So I know it's not for you, but it's for everybody. So we can't just ignore all them and just listen to you. So it's how do you find a way of getting to the people who are often a positive and quiet majority who are keen for this to happen, and they need to then drown out the voices of a noisy minority.
Yeah, and so it's getting that balance. So, I mean, what sort of things have you done to kind of get the quiet majority kind of to lift their voice?
Well, it starts with that, meet the neighbours, and then the ongoing communication with them. And when these people turn back up and see that you've listened to them and you've done the thing and addressed the issue and the challenge that they wanted to see sorted, and it could be very simple, like we want more public toilets. It could be that we want kids a place to play area for children, whatever it might be. As long as they know that, as they can see that we've ticked those boxes and we've listened to them properly and implemented it, they feel listened to, and then they become kind of like disciples of what we're trying to do. They go and tell their friends, these guys are good. It's hard to get the public to talk positively about a property developer, but we're able to do that, and that comes down to how we do things with, we do a lot on social media. That's a great way to inform the public about what's going on, meeting people where they are, finding them where they are. But also working with, on TV shows or working with the press to find different places and ways of communicating with people is all vital. And if you do it well and you do it honestly, then people really do become advocates for you, and that makes our life so much simpler.
Why don't you think all developers do this, or do you think they don't all do it?
Well,
it's not something I've always seen people do that well.
No, I mean the benefit for us is we've never had a problem with planning. We hear lots and lots of developers complaining about planners and planning, but we don't have an issue with it ever. And that's because I like to think that we build nice things and we listen to what people are asking for. And you can't, and you're honest with them as well when they turn up and say we want a museum because this is where this is where some abstract sport was invented in this little town or village. We say we've got to be honest and say you're not going to get that. It's not going to happen. And so I think developers are scared of the public turning up and saying, we don't want it, we hate it, and we're going to form a Facebook group and we're going to campaign against it, and you're not going to get planning permission as a result. But I think that, and that does happen if you don't bring people along with you and you don't go in at the very start and you don't start to build a relationship with them. So I would say that it's an old school way as to how it's been done in the past. I'd like to think that there's a new breed of developers coming through that are doing it in a way that is a bit more engaging and a bit more collaborative. So hopefully it's kind of what we're going to see in the future.
And have you got a scheme where you kind of really kind of went in and you weren't sure if people were going to accept what you wanted to do there, and it helped to kind of turn them around, your approach?
Yeah, I suppose there's so many. I mean, many of them, it's not that they're not all kind of like welcome with open arms right at the very start, so because there are controversial elements to it. So if we're repurposing a conservation building, say, then that can go down badly because people kind of feel precious and anxious about it. And that's good if you can then harness that and then redirect it back to a positive, which is, look, we're going to do a great job. You'll still be able to access the building because we're going to have, F&B on the ground floor, perhaps, or cafe bars and restaurants, as we say, rather than F&B to the public.
I was going to say.
This is a difference in terminology. So there's that. But equally, when we're going to repurpose a building that's kind of can be seen as a monstrosity, such as a former 1960s kind of modernist civic centre built of concrete and almost got vibes, a brutalist vibe coming across, then people are devastated when they hear it's not going to get demolished. So you have to then explain a bit about that and why we're not doing it and how it can look fantastic. And so it's like understanding. For example, we say, look, if you get rid of all the buildings from the 60s, which is what happened with warehouses and red brick mill buildings back in the 1960s, then eventually you'll kick yourselves because you'll wish that you had them available to you again. So it's kind of doing a combination of those things. It's kind of finding out what the issue is, what the concern is, and tackling it head on, and then explaining it to them properly.
So you've spoken a lot about kind of communication. So you have a really strong, I'm going to say, personal brand, which you do. You're often on. You do video. You're on TV. Yeah. How has that helped you as kind of, I guess, your business, and also from a kind of personal perspective?
It's a blessing and a curse, because when you're meeting, when you're starting a new project and you've got the chief exec of the council or leader of the council, or whether if there's a major headache or a problem on something, it can be a case of, where's Tim? Can we get Tim on this? Or where's Tim on where is he? Almost like there can be people can forget that there's a massive, brilliant, way smarter team that are doing things, making all the good stuff happen. And so that's the curse of it, I suppose. And as we've expanded across the UK, and we're right the way up in the north and right the way on the south coast, then that is harder as well to manage, because you're physically trying to be in more of those places at once. So that's the tough thing. But the benefit has been, the ability of our growth. I think it's not the only reason, but it's certainly it's helped to contribute to our growth. It's helped to contribute to our ability to make progress on things, and that's a few different things. So that means that when we turn up in a new town or place, it's easier for people to find out where and what we've done before. There are faces. There's me and colleagues' faces that they can put to the project, and almost by having your face there, it's by being present and by being the person, not a faceless organisation. It reminds people that I wouldn't do it if I was planning on clearing off to Hawaii forever with all the money that I've made on this project, and they'll never see me again, because that'd be foolish. So I think it helps people to be reassured, and the other thing is, the other benefit is, it's like, we're only human. So we're a small, in a way, boutique, independent, whatever you want to. We're family run. We're employed by, we're owned by our team, me and my colleagues, and my co-founder. So it helps to get that across, which is, look, there will be mistakes. We're not going to get it all right like you. We're not going to get everything perfect, but we won't stop until we do. We'll keep fixing things until it's all correct. So all those things I think really help make a difference. And it's also been good as well for me to encourage colleagues to do the same, to say, why don't you get in front of the camera, and why don't you work on your own personal brand? Because I think people can instantly warm to you. What's really nice is, I'll go into a meeting, I've not met the people before, and they already know things about you, which is great, know things about what you've done, and almost feel an affinity towards it, in a sense that, well, they've already decided at that point, do they like you or not? Because if they've seen so much of you on social or on TV or whatever it might be, that if they've invited you to a meeting, they probably do. Yeah. And the people that don't like me definitely don't invite me to a meeting. So you never really end up. That's the great thing. People get to the opportunity to triage you really early on in the process, and you then don't have a conversation with someone that's a waste of time, because they might dislike you, and therefore you've given them the opportunity to assess that before they've even met you.
It does. It filters out a lot. I mean, my personal brand is not on your scale, but it is. I do get out to things, and people actually quote me back at myself, which is a bit weird, or they ask me questions about my son, and I'm like, how do you know? But do you know what I mean? Because I write about him sometimes. So, but I do think that stuff is always like, people I find with architects and engineers especially, that they're quite kind of worried about what their peers think about them, so they don't necessarily want to put themselves forward. And I always think that is a really kind of good thing to do, because they've got so many great ideas and views and things they believe in as well. But it's quite an interesting one, trying to kind of get people to feel confident. And in your team, how did you do that?
Well, you find your audience. The other benefit is you find your audience, in that I'm absolutely sure that there must be a whole lot of people that find me very irritating, and that's fine. That's fair enough. Get that. But they don't. But the good thing is, they don't walk over to you at an event and say, I find you very irritating. They just ignore you and leave you alone. But the people who do find what you do interesting, or they do have an affinity towards what you're trying to achieve, then they do come over and talk positively. So I think it's one of those whereby, and then colleagues can see that it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight, but you build an audience over time, and they can do the same. And what they're doing, my colleagues have got, if they want to be able to grow their personal brand, and they want to get on in their careers, not just at Capital&Centric, but when they go on to somewhere else from Capital&Centric, it help them a lot if they've got the ability to bring an audience with them on the journey. And so they get that. And as a result, that's taking pressure off me, because now they're telling the story about what we're doing at Capital&Centric. They're sharing those ideas. They're sharing some of the behind the scenes things as well. And that's helping me and us as a business as well continue to expand and grow. But it also means that stuff's out there, that content's out there for them forever to use in their future career.
That's so true. The amount of people I see now I used to work for Stephen Bartlett. It's mad.
Yes.
Everywhere. I'm literally like, is there anyone who didn't work for Stephen Bartlett?
I did at one point in the past. Yeah, I think I must have worked for Stephen at one point.
You're in Manchester. You could have done. So I was going to say, so when you're making your videos, because like your kind of walk and talk videos are brilliant, and I remember one of my friends, Stacey, she kind of introduced me to you, and I was like, oh my god, I was like, really good.
Right.
How do you do them? What's your process of actually producing?
I mean, for a kick, I don't use a selfie stick, and I don't know if this is. I don't know if you screen the video of what you do, but I'll just give you. It's just my arm at full length with my phone.
Yeah.
And I don't even use, much to the frustration of colleagues in the marketing team, I don't use a mic, a lapel mic or anything. I just use the mic on the phone, which isn't great. You know, it's a bit noisy, a bit blustery, a bit windy, especially on a construction site as well. Which
I was going to say, 20 quid on Amazon, mate.
No, look, yeah, I'm a deeply disorganised individual, and that would take some planning, and so I don't know when I'm gonna. I don't know when I'm going to do a video. So I need to get better at that anyway. It's as simple as, and then I'll do that, and I'll go, right, there's something that I want to say, or that there's something of interest to me, and I want to share. And so I'll do that, and then I'll typically I have to do it like 3 or 4 times, because I try and do it as one edit, one cut right the way through.
Yep.
So you don't have to kind of like, it's not difficult then to be edited. Other than what I also do is just ensure, I also will, whilst I'm there, I'll take some B-roll, as I call it, which is, footage of just whatever's going on in the background of whatever I'm talking about. And then that can be cut in, because frankly, people are bored of watching my face.
Yeah.
So cutaways of what I'm looking at, in addition to some CGIs of what it will eventually look like, help a lot. And then that combination seems to keep people interested. And so it's pretty simple. But I have got a colleague in the marketing team who's one of the main roles is to edit and create the content.
Yeah.
So not just for me though. Obviously, they're doing it for. We've got other brands, so they do it for Olo, which is our residential management brand. They also do it for. They also work for a couple of non-profits that I'm involved in. Regeneration Brainery is one of them, and there's a few other charities, a couple of which I chair. That they pro bono. We provide some content creation services to those places as well. So which is good for them. Variety is good for creative people. They need variety, and so it helps both. It helps the charity, but it also helps them keep interested.
But it's also really interesting, because I think that whole thing about video communication and how much more accessible it is now, and literally you can just do it from your phone, and it doesn't need to be a massive production process. And I think that's another major opportunity there, isn't it? And it's how people connect as well, right?
Yeah, it's very simple. I mean, I didn't used to have a colleague to help me edit the videos. I just used to do them, and I'd do them as one take, less than 60 seconds if I ever could.
Yeah.
And then just publish that, and it was me just doing it, and it's dead simple and dead easy. Over time, if you want to evolve and improve the quality of them, there's extra support that I've got there. But yeah, keeping it simple and easy, and increasingly, because everybody can be an expert because of we've got access to AI that can help people sound and be expert in many ways. I think the authenticity of having somebody, with their arm stretched out on the phone, saying what they think and believe, and without it being too, over-generated or over-edited or over-contrived, I think helps a lot. So that, for a fact, really, that me and my colleagues that are sharing that content, that is genuinely their belief, that is genuinely their knowledge, that is genuinely their understanding. You might disagree with it, but it's genuine, and it's not some piece of software that's giving the opinion. And I think increasingly that's going to matter to future generations to be able to do that and communicate that well. That's going to be premium. People will be premium, and that's ultimately what you're going to be paying for in the future, which is at the minute almost it's kind of premium is kind of not necessarily the individuals, but personality will be premium in the future.
Yeah, no, I think so. If I say that with the creator economy, it's going to be about the people now, because everything else can just be made by AI, which is great, isn't it?
It's an averaging thing. AI averages everything out. It can be great, but also at the same time, creatively, it's mediocre. So
yeah, it's like lots of creators whose stuff I used to love, and I'm like, your voice has changed, and you seem to be lost in like AI, the AI world. I think it's really sad. I'm like, where are you under there? It's happening a lot. So in terms of architects and engineers who want to be involved in kind of developments and working with developers like Capital&Centric, what do you look for when you're kind of looking to choose an architect and engineer, and what kind of things stand out to you, and what do you want from them apart from great design?
We get a huge amount of incoming from architects and engineers who'll say, I see that you've acquired a project, or you're doing something in a town near and city near us. Can we get involved? By then it's way too late, because by that point, by the time it's in the press, it's, we've got a team assembled. So that's always the case. And that's the first thing. The second thing is my favorite architects and engineers are those that introduce us opportunities that are really good opportunities, that understand, because that tells me straight away that they understand what it is we're trying to achieve and what it is that we're trying to do. If they say, I know of a project that you would be perfect for, and I know the right people to put you in touch with to make that happen, that's a big tick in a box for us as well. So, rather than just messaging me on LinkedIn, which I get a lot of, and you can imagine just people saying, oh, can I have a job? I think that's just not the right business development strategy for me. And then that's the first thing. Then in an architect, truth of the matter is as well, we often will look at an architect's website, and we're looking for excellence, and we're looking for, one of our key tests is it an RIBA award-winning kind of quality of product? Because many of our schemes do win those sorts of architectural awards, which we value highly. That's important to us. Third-party judged, housing design awards is another good example.
Yeah.
And so we're looking for that. And if we see, I always say to architects, like, if you can as well, I always say, if you've got a scheme that's a bit naff, just take it off your website. Because the fear for me, as somebody that's appointing an architect, is when my head hits a pillow at night, I don't want to be worried that my project is going to be one of the naff ones. I want the architect to be worrying when their head hits the pillow at night, to be worrying how they make Capital&Centric's project exemplary, because that's one of the key signifiers of our brand is design, excellence. That's helped us grow. That helps us get planning permission. That helps us get more people keen on attracting us to do projects in their city and town. So I would say if there's something naff, take it off, because I've seen architects' websites where they've got loads of brilliant stuff, and then they've got something that's really a bit rubbish, and I think, ooh, I can't leave you to just get on with it. If I think that you might make a mistake and do something like that. So I take it off. And you don't need to have loads and loads of things on your website. I always think that's a big turn off as well. When there's loads of projects, just focus on your top 5 and just say, these are the ones that's the best sort of architecture we can do. Yeah. Because again, you don't always have a client that lets you do your best work. But when you do, then you should really celebrate that and tell people about that and use that as your hook. And then you can say to the client, this is what I'll do for you if you let me do a really good job.
Often we talk about showcasing the kind of work where you want to get to. So, the stuff that's going to actually help take your business forward, rather than, because I think sometimes everyone wants to show everything. It's like, no, and then leave you to be the filter, which takes a lot of time. And people just don't have that level of time.
No, exactly. So, for example, we have got projects that we did. It was embryonic, where I was building warehouses and on office parks. Now, as far as warehouses go, they were BREEAM excellent, and they had architectural. They were miles cooler than the stuff that was around it. But equally, it's not. I don't want to be doing warehouses. I didn't want to be doing warehouses. This is going back to 2007 and 8, and so I was like, I'm not gonna. It's not on the website. The stuff that is going to go on the website is going to be the stuff that I want to be doing more of. And yeah, you're right. Focus on that stuff.
So, do you think architects and engineers understand what developers want?
Yeah, I think they do. I think some do better than others. I think there's a spectrum of what architects and engineers want. I think that because I suppose it's difficult because developer clients are all so different. So much of what we do is in partnership with the public sector. What we want really is not exclusively, but so much of what we do, certainly 2/3 of what we do, is collaborating with a local authority and council, and maybe a combined authority and central government to bring about big change in regeneration. And so that's tricky because in a way, the architect or the engineer would need to know the right people at that combined authority or local authority and have a relationship with that individual at the combined authority, say, or the council, to be able to say, you really should be working with Capital&Centric on this. There's probably little point if they haven't got a good relationship there with the council, say, because otherwise that's not really much of a warm introduction. It's just an email address and a bit of a kind of a fairly faint sort of relationship. So that's no good. But I get it. It's difficult for, that's what we want as Capital&Centric. But equally, the next developer wants to build a food store and the next developer wants to build student flats. So I think it's hard for them because they probably are trying to cover lots of different bases. And again, if it were me, I'd focus and specialize. I'd try not to do everything. I'd try and go, and we're going to just do this, and we're going to do this really well, and we're going to become the best at it. Yeah. I think that's what we did as Capital&Centric. I think we just said, we're going to focus on this sort of thing and do it really, really well. It'll take time, and it did. And because we're not, people often think of us as being a bit of an overnight success, but we have been doing it for, it's coming up to near 18 years or something like that now. Yeah. So before you know it, it'll be 20 plus. And so, I'd focus and really just tune in exactly on what you want to do, who you want to work with, and don't try and be everything to everyone.
Is there any way that people can not be political in our industry? I'm just thinking, like, for example, Jay Morton, who's obviously ran her campaign to become incoming Labour president, and she's like kind of pushing the idea that everyone has to be political, which I do agree with. Is that something you think that actually people need to be aware of what's going on? Or?
Yeah, I think being aware of, one of the things that we've always done well is understood what the government's agenda of the day is and focused on that. So be it around employment creation, which is what I mentioned early on about building warehouses and office parks, was because at the time the government were absolutely desperate to create jobs, and one of the ways that they saw that was creating workspaces and employment spaces. So that's important. But then that pivoted into identification of urban areas and brownfield first, and then so we started to do that again a lot in the office and workspace sort of area. And then it came, and then over time, there's always like blips of up and downs of carbon neutrality, low carbon. It goes up and down on the agenda, and it always comes back stronger. By the way, so green initiatives get stronger.
It's now green infrastructure. That's what it is, isn't it? At the moment.
And then it comes back stronger, and then it goes off. It goes up and down depending on how the economies are doing at the time. And so, but it always comes back stronger. It does come back, and then it pivoted. The government agenda then pivoted to homes, and then it pivoted. Now it's pivoting very much to affordable homes and social homes. So it's always been aware of that. What's coming up next on the agenda, and so I think it's worth being political in the sense that as a development company, we work with. I'm working with the Luke Campbell up in Hull. There, he's a leader of reform. There in at the combined authority, he's the mayor. Of the combined authority. But equally, I'm working with the Tory mayor, Paul Bristow in Cambridgeshire. I'm working with Kim McGuinness, Tracy Brabin, Andy Burnham, Steve Rotherham. They're all Labour in other parts. So, and it's the same locally as well. We've got Lib Dem leaders and I've got Labour leaders. So we get on. You've got to understand the politics of a place in an area if you're going to be successful. And you've got to. We always take the view, which is the public have elected them to be representative of the public. That's what the public have asked for. That's what the public want. So you do well as a business to give the public what they're asking for. So,
and who are you to judge, right? And that's kind of it. Yeah.
That's how democracy works. So it's like, right, that's what they've all asked for. That's what they want. That's what representing their views. What would you like to see happen? What is your view? And we'll do that because we are go with the grain development business. We're not going to get in the way of it. And as a result, surprise, surprise, if you're not looking to be difficult and if you're trying to focus on what the political priorities are in that place and try and fix those problems that they've got for them, then surprise, surprise, you get along a lot quicker and you can make far more progress. So I think it is worth understanding it and getting involved in it.
Okay, so obviously our current political leader has resigned, and for the UK, and I guess the focus is turning to Manchester and Greater Manchester. What do you think the rest of the UK can kind of learn from the region?
I think that Manchester, as a result of, and when I refer to Manchester, I mean the city region.
Yes,
Manchester.
That's what I meant.
Really, it takes in a whole, massively broad demographic of a place, really, and so what you can expect more of, I think, is it's a business-friendly socialism. So that means that what what the politicians are looking for there is, are you a business that wants to do more than just help yourself? Are you there to help yourself? For sure, you're a business, you need to do that. But are you prepared to help people along the way? Or are you prepared to help other businesses, to help the public, to help non-profits, to help the faith, voluntary, charity sectors? Are you there and can you do other things? So can you do something that might reduce energy bills and make life more affordable? Or can you restore conservation buildings? That's great. We need to do that. Can you create jobs? That's great. We need to do that. Can you create housing that's affordable? We need that. And can you, so it's all things that you can do as in the industry, and it's showing without just tokenistic, in a non-tokenistic way, showing that you genuinely are trying to help in other areas beyond just lining your own pocket as a business. And the good thing about that is that if you do that well in any town or city or place, then you create a healthy community, a healthy economy, and guess what? That business, your business, can thrive even better. So in a way, it goes full circle anyway. And I think that's what it is. It's looking at things as a whole and saying, is there a way that we can all benefit from this? And if there's anybody in there that we can weed out that's only looking to help themselves, then we need to just single them out and say, not you, thanks very much. That's kind of the Manchester way. It's been built on that because it's needed to be resourceful. It's needed to be pragmatic about what can happen. And it said, okay, well, I get it that this might not make because of where we are and what we've got available to us, this might not make a massive return for it. Let's say the council's providing some development finance towards the cost of doing something. But the council will say, all right, well, can we get a bit of a park out of it as part of it? Can we get all our money back and a park? So we don't need a big return, but can we get this and that? And that's the difference, is like, well, what else can we get out of this process? And it's looking at things in a more holistic way. It's looking at social value and outcomes and outputs more than just the financial bit. And it's been super successful for Greater Manchester. And by the way, it started a long time ago. It started before the current leadership and before the leadership before that. And the leadership before that, it started, a couple of hundred years ago, perhaps. And it's just in the psyche as a result. And you don't have to be from Manchester to know it or be part of it, because most people aren't. Most people, like my grandparents, are immigrants that came over here and settled in Manchester and got on. And that's the Manchester way. If you turn up and you want to help out and you want to leave the ladder down for others, and you want to put a shift in, then you are a Mancunian, and you are welcome with open arms, and we need more of that. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's a brilliant way to end the podcast. Thank you so much for coming onto the show, Tim. Hope you enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it.
Awesome.
Thanks very much.
If you enjoyed this, hit subscribe. There's a new episode out every 2 weeks, and you can also catch us on Spotify and Apple if you prefer listening. If you're an architecture, engineering or construction firm looking to work with a marketing consultant who knows your world, do head to abbasmarketing.com, linked in the description to find out more. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.